This race here is gaining national attention. There's quite a bit of press in the back row there that's from outside of Connecticut, and largely because of the gun issue. So I'd like to spend a minute or two talking about that. But I want to ask you both a question that I have not heard either one of you address, and it goes like this. In February of this year, the state police sent letters to just over 200 citizens of this state, reminding them or informing them that their application to register their assault weapon or high-capacity magazine was rejected. So we have a list. We have names, we have addresses, we know what weapons and how many. We also have a law that says if you are in possession of those unregistered weapons, it's a Class D felony. Governor, are we going to enforce that law?
Well, I think we are enforcing the law. A number of those issues were resolved on some factual matters going back and forth between the state police and others. I didn't know you were going to ask that question, so I don't have an exact number for you, and I do apologize for that.
280.
But let me be very clear. I believe that no person with a mental disability, with a felony, with a issue of protective order against them should be able to buy a gun in Connecticut. I believe that everyone should be subject to a background check when they go to buy a weapon. If I can't get on a plane to travel to another state without someone doing a background check on me, I don't think that we should be having people buying guns without background checks. And in point of fact, since we passed that legislation, we have stopped over 200 people from buying guns. Some of those individuals had mental illness. Some of those people had recent, this is unbelievable, they had recent domestic orders against them, and they were trying to buy a gun. Now, I can't guarantee you that we saved some man or some woman's life, more likely a woman, but I believe we did. I think that legislation is important. I also believe that what we've done is made Connecticut safer. And I can point to real statistics, Tom. Crime is down, 45-year low. Homicides are down. Only the 4th time in 45 years that homicides have been less than 100, and they were 83. And this very year that we're sitting on this stage together, we are running at the same rate we ran last year. So presumably we'll have our 5th year under 100. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of making cities safer, and school children safer, and teachers safer, and you know, if that's what this fight is about, then let it be joined, because it's not a matter of convenience or inconvenience. It's a matter of public safety.
Before you answer, let me say this. You have said that you will not seek a repeal of this law, and you see no reason to try and spend time changing it. So would we be safe in assuming, if you get elected, you take the oath of office to uphold the laws of the state of Connecticut, that you'll enforce this law and go get those guns?
Well, let me talk, before I answer that, let me talk about guns. Because we had a terrible tragedy in this state. It was in the news around the world. And it was a whole entire community, and I consider the state part of that community. We're deeply affected by that. And it's totally appropriate that in those circumstances that there is a response from the government and the leadership. But I said at the time to Governor Malloy, I said, Governor Malloy, please respond to this for these needy citizens in the state who wants something done. But limit it to things that would prevent another Newtown from happening. And the governor didn't do that. Not only did he not do that, but he didn't do things that would prevent another Newtown from happening. So, in fact, I don't think we are safer based on the bill that he passed. And in passing this bill, I don't know what his motive was for overreaching, possibly to, you know, he has a very progressive agenda he's trying to experiment with in the state of Connecticut. Maybe there were other issues at hand. But this was so overreaching that it went way, way beyond what would have been, I believe, an appropriate response to Newtown. So, including what you asked him, which is you turn law-abiding citizens, who are in some cases sportsmen, in other cases people who are interested in self-protection. Law-abiding citizens bought something perfectly legally, and you say if you don't do something within 2 or 3 months, you're going to be a felon. Governor, what were you thinking? So absolutely, I would that aspect of the law I would change. I don't think you turn perfectly good, law-abiding citizens who are responsible people, believe in the Constitution of the United States, and flip something on them so that something that they did in the past turns them into a felon. That's simply unacceptable. It's not good leadership. It's grandstanding, and it was unnecessary.
So you're not, if I can for 1 second. No. Look, people, you're only taking time away from your candidate. So please, I'll give you plenty of time to clap at the end. But before you respond to that, with all due respect, I don't think you really answered the question. And so let me rephrase it.
Yep.
There are 200 citizens of this state sitting out there. They know that they're on a list. They know that a state trooper could show up at their door at any moment and with an arrest warrant. Don't they deserve to know what you're going to do?
And for all you and I know sitting here,
Yep.
they don't have those guns. Maybe they are law-abiding. Maybe they got rid of them. But I'm happy to get you an update on what those numbers are and whether some of those folks have rectified their situation. But quite frankly, laws are made to be obeyed. I can't drive a car without a license. I can't sell insurance without a license. I can't practice law without a license. But I do want to get to one thing that Tom said. Sure. Tom and I haven't had a conversation about this issue ever. Ever. So when Tom says he told me something, he's not telling the truth. We didn't have a conversation, Tom. And I want to be very clear, because if we had a conversation, I would have asked you, Tom, should a person be able to buy a gun without a background check? So I'm going to ask you today, Tom, should a person be able to buy a gun without a background check? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So Tom, should a person with mental illness be able to buy a gun with background check, without a background check?
Well, it would depend on the severity of the mental illness and what the diagnosis was.
Okay. How about somebody who has a recent order against them? Protective order.
Do you want to go over the whole bill?
Yeah, because it's the first opportunity anybody's had to actually ask you about
Governor,
it.
listen, I did tell you, but I don't have to call you to tell you. We both, things we say when we're interviewed in the press are available in the press. They're on CT Capitol Report. If you're not looking at it, your staff can tell you. I did tell you this. So to say I'm not telling the truth is ridiculous.
So you admit we never had a conversation, right?
We do. We have conversations all the time in the press.
In the press.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please, it's about these two guys. So give them the respect and let them have this conversation so that we're all better informed.
So just to go one step further, there is an organization which has or is about to endorse Tom Foley for governor on the basis of his gun positions. And the president of that organization said that he had a discussion with Tom Foley where he said he would sign a repeal of that legislation. I've heard Tom say in speaking before groups that he would consider signing a repeal. So let me be very clear. If a repeal comes to me, I will never sign a repeal. I'll have a discussion about how to make the law better. I'll have a discussion about how to make it work easier for folks. But if you're talking about repealing the fundamentals of this legislation, which has led to lower crime, fewer homicides, and safer schools, teachers, administrators, I want to be very clear. I would not repeal that.
All right, let me respond to that.
Sure.
First of all, Governor, this is where you're twisting the truth again. What I said is that if the legislature handed me a repeal provision of that bill, I would sign it. That's not saying I would seek repeal of the bill. So there, you're twisting the truth again.
No, Tom, that's the rough equivalent.
I have looked.
Oh, sure, you finish.
I have looked at what it would take to be able to pardon anybody who was pursued for one of these felonies, and the governor doesn't pardon people directly, but he does appoint commissioners to the pardoning board. So if anybody, when I'm a governor, if anybody is pursued under this law for a felony for not having registered a firearm, I'll make sure that they're not prosecuted.
Tom, with all due respect, you clearly didn't read the legislation that governs or the provisions that govern pardons. You have to be really specific about this stuff. But I think you just said something, that you would have a litmus test to anybody who would sit on a pardons board. And you should tell us about all the other litmus tests that you may have at some point. I'm not misspeaking. The head of the organization quoted you as saying you would sign it. But sometimes you accuse other people of being a politician, a career politician. That answer you just gave, that was a career politician answer. I don't know whether it will get to me, but if it gets to me, then I'll sign it. Wink, wink, get it done, have it get before me. Which is a very different position than I've taken. You're absolutely right.
Hey, let me respond to one other
Certainly.
thing the governor said. You're going to get all your questions in today?
Listen, I got two, I think I won already.
The governor talks about crime rates. Violent crime rates have gone down all across the country, and they haven't gone down more in Connecticut than they have across the rest of the country. But what he leaves out is that we have 3 of the top 6 cities under a population of 200,000 with the highest crime rates in the country: Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven. So for the governor to be going around saying that crime is low and it's not a problem is insulting to those communities and simply misrepresents what's going on here in Connecticut. We have to get crime rates down. In many of these communities, people are afraid to leave their homes at night. Young people are being shot and killed on the street. And businesses are being affected because it scares businesses and jobs out of these communities. So the governor says everything's fine with crime. I don't agree.
No, let's be very clear. I don't say everything's fine with crime. And that's why I was in New Haven last Friday, walking a street with a mother who had lost her son and her sister who had lost his son 10 years before. That's why I'm encouraging communities to become reinvested in community policing, something that New Haven's doing, which is actually leading to a larger drop in crime than the national average. That's why we brought Project Longevity to 3 cities, Bridgeport, New Haven, and Hartford, which are leading in a decline in crime above the national average, quite frankly. So, you know, we're now, for the 4th time in 40, 45 years, under 100, and we're going to do it again this year by all reports. That's real progress, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of community policing, and I'm proud of the efforts that we're putting into communities to make schools stronger, to make housing stronger. We had no housing policy in this state. If you want to know what causes crime in New Haven and Bridgeport and Hartford, it's the failure in many cases of public housing projects that were allowed to deteriorate over years to become really dens of crime. I'm working at that every single day. I get up really excited about the possibilities of Connecticut. I don't put Connecticut down. If you want to lead with the fact that those communities have high crime, I understand that. But they're also dropping that crime very substantially. They should be proud of that. The mayor of New Haven, the mayor of Bridgeport, the mayor of Hartford should be proud that crime is dropping. Is it dropping fast enough? It's never dropping fast enough. But it's dropping, Tom.
Well, the governor describes progress, which I wouldn't consider progress. We're the only state that has 3 cities in the top 6 of the FBI statistics for the highest crime rates, and he describes that as progress. I can do better than that.
Okay.
They were tops before I was governor.
Okay, public safety is an important issue, but there are other issues as well, if you don't mind.